All right. Well, we are now at 5 after, which is, of course, the respectable time that we can start. So I think we should do that. What do you guys think?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Douglas Spencer. I am class of 1987. Was not a theater major. I was a journalism major. But I am a member of the MCAA, Marietta College Alumni Association Board of Directors. And on behalf of all of them, I would like to welcome you here. Before we get going, a little bit about the MCAA. We are really here just to help create a bond between the alumni and the current college, the students, the faculty, administration. We're here to make certain to keep the long blue line vibrant and strong, and that's why we are here. And we encourage you all to join us. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. First of all, follow us on social media. I will be putting in the chat all of the different links to our accounts that I would very much like for you to follow. You can sign up for our Trailblazer newsletter. We'll share those links as well. And just tell all of your Marietta College alumni friends about the MCAA and the things we do. And we're trying to do things that aren't just asking for money. For example, this is not asking for money. So before we get started, in regular meetings, I would let people know where the restrooms are, but since I'm not in your homes, I can't do that. You'll have to do that yourself. Please put yourself on mute because everyone loves dogs, but no one wants to hear them right now. And we'd like for you to, if you are an alum or anybody, put your LinkedIn information in the chat so that when we share this with current students now and in the future, they will be able to know someone that they can reach out to who is a member of the long blue line, as I said. So with that, I am going to turn off the share. And we're going to get going. Okay. Well, so I'm going to ask the participants to introduce themselves. So if you please tell us where you're from, where you grew up, when you why you chose Marietta College, and what you've been doing since you graduated, and or whatever your situation is. So let's start with our professor. Let's start with Lisa Grande.
Hi, everybody. I am Lisa Grande. I was born and raised in Marietta, have lived in a few other places, and I've taught at Marietta twice. I was there from the early 90s until 2007, and then I worked professionally in Pittsburgh and kind of all around for a decade, and I've been back again for 4 years. So I just missed Justine by a couple of years, but I see some people here who were my students back in the olden days, round one.
And you were also a Marietta College student for a small period of time.
I was briefly a Marietta College student. I was in the midst of tour of Ohio colleges, public and private. Marietta was my middle ground before I ended up at OU. So, and I also did Kent State. So
great.
I didn't know what I wanted to do.
So this is usually called Connect Four, where we have a professor, a student, a recent alum, and a veteran alum. But we're lucky tonight because we get 2 for 1 in the veteran alum department, and that is the Delaney's, Shelley and Dennis. So if you two would introduce yourselves, that would be fantastic.
I'm Shelley Delaney. I was raised in Cleveland, and I graduated from Marietta in 1979. I came to Marietta because my older stepbrother went to Marietta, and I visited and fell in love with it. I think I maybe mostly fell in love with his friends because he was 4 years older than me, and it was very cool to sort of be hosted by them and taken around by them. But it was definitely the right decision. And subsequently, I have remained engaged in the theater from the very beginning. I went to graduate school for acting and subsequently had an acting career that I've now returned to. And direct new play dramaturg and ran the acting programs at OU for 19 years. So right down the road, we left Southeast Ohio as young theater artists, assuming we would never return, and got jobs at Ohio University and found our way back right at the exact right time to sort of remember the beauty of the region and be down the road. Yeah.
Great.
I'm Dennis Delaney. I grew up, of all places, in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Ended up at Marietta and was had a good fortune to study under Willard Friedrich, the founder of the program there, Ron Lorman, who was also there for many, many years, and Kent Nelson, three terrific teachers from whom I learned everything I needed to know to be a theater professional. Met my future wife, Shelley, while we were both here at Marietta. We both ended up going to Rutgers to get our master's degrees, and we plied our trade as director and actress out of the New York City area for a little over 20 years or so. And then we ended up, as she said, back here in Ohio. I ended up, she came here to teach in the acting program, and I wormed my way into the MFA directing program by directing some Shakespeare and some other things. And the guy that was in the program left, and I took over and I ran that MFA, what we called the Professional Director Training Program at OU, for 17 years. And 2 weeks before COVID hit, I signed my retirement papers. I always thought the timing was pretty good, but this was kind of amazing. Yeah, so I've been a member of the Stage Director and Choreographer Association since 1994, and currently retired, spending a lot of time in the hammock and writing a film guide is keeping me busy.
Fantastic. I love the hammock idea. Justine, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Justine. I work as a scenic artist in the Northeast Ohio area. I graduated from Marietta College in 2013, so it's been longer than I would assume at this point. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. But yeah, I fell in love with Marietta College because I really like the quaint small town vibes, and I like the small class sizes because I really liked being able to kind of get to know the professors and kind of work as like a family almost, more than just like large class sizes where you feel like you kind of get lost in the shuffle. So yeah. Great.
Now, so the program typically, as I mentioned, includes a current student, but when we started planning this process, Samuel was a current student, but we should all congratulate him for graduating 2 weeks ago. So he's no longer a current student. He is now one of us. He's an alum. But for the purposes of this conversation, we're going to ask him to pretend like it's 3 weeks ago, and he is still a student. So Sam, tell us all about you.
Hi, I'm Sam. Thank you for the introduction. I'm a Marietta local, born in Parkersburg, but raised here my whole life. Not only did I come to Marietta College because it was kind of the most convenient and financially viable choice, but also I did fall in love, like people said, with the very personal, kind of intimate nature of Marietta College. And before Marietta College, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And I fell in love with the theater department here, and it's kind of where I started as an artist. So
that's great. So you didn't come to Marietta expecting to major in theater?
No, I wanted to do psychology for a while. I wanted to do something with music therapy, maybe something with art. I was kind of exploring a lot of options at that point in time. And I knew deep down acting was something I always wanted to pursue, but didn't really have the courage until I came to college. So
nice. Fantastic. All right, Lisa, would you please tell us a little bit about what the program's like these days? Just what kind of majors are there? Just give us an overview.
Absolutely. Right now, we've got somewhere around, with the incoming class, 30, 35 majors and minors. This is building up from when I got here 4 years ago, and I think we had 4. And that's not due to me in any way, shape, or form. We have a wonderful faculty member, Keziah Feld, who has put a lot of energy into recruiting. And between Keziah's energy in recruiting and all of the other growth in what we're doing in the department, things are kind of going well for us. We have a tracked BFA, so you can get a BFA in acting, in design and tech, and you can gear it more towards costumes, scenic, lighting, sound, but you will get a very well-rounded degree, or a BFA in directing, where you will also get stage management, artistic direction, business skills. There are, sorry, just looked at the chat. We also have a BA in sort of a generalist degree, a BA in theater, and we have a BA in musical theater. We offer, right now we offer one minor in theater. We're getting ready to expand that into some different, more focused minors, but that's a thing to come. We also just created a dance minor that launches, well, I think it's up with curriculum committee. So we've had some people who are already here, some students who are already here, register as dance minors, I believe. I know we have some incoming students who are going to be dance minors. So that's very exciting. And we have an adjunct actually who has created that, and she's done all the labor to make that happen. And that's Shelley and Dennis, that's Aurora. Aurora held Dodd. So yeah. So that's sort of where we are as a department. Before I came in, there were some adjuncts, and Andy and David Maku were the only two full-time faculty members. Now we have David has left. He and his wife and family are moving to Chicago. But right after I got here, they also hired Nathan Bradley, who was an alum of the program, who went off and got his MFA in lighting and sound design. So we have Nathan, myself, Andy and Keziah Feld, all full-time now. And we have a full-time tech assistant starting next year, who will be an assistant tech director, who will be a costume shop manager. She's a good scenic charge artist. She runs our box office. So she's kind of filling in a lot of holes for us, which is a lot of growth in 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sam, tell us a little bit about your course load the last couple of semesters. What kind of courses were you taking? What were the most interesting, or what were the most challenging?
Yeah, I think for me, I think what was great about my senior year is I got to take auditioning class and professional prep and ethics. Sorry, I just read the chat. And I think those two classes specifically were very helpful for me, because auditioning, gathering that material, all that prep work that goes into, what you want to do, being able to find sources and find material was always something that was a huge challenge for me. And that class helped me out a lot in regards to that. Professional prep and ethics I took with Lisa, actually. And I believe this is the first time she taught this course, was this past semester with me and 4 other students. And we all had different tracks we were going in. Mine was specifically musical theater. Other people were focused on directing and tech work. And so it was a really interesting class, because we talked about, the ethical side of theater and ethical issues within theater, what we're willing to do, what we're not willing to do as an artist. And also the professional side of theater, being able to work on our websites, our resumes, our mission statements, being able to talk with other people about theater, being able to, we had mock interviews, and that was really helpful for me to kind of lock in how to talk to people about theater. So, yeah.
Great. Justine, what about you? Give us some examples of your course load when you were at Marietta.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting hearing about how the department's changed since I've been there, because I know when I first started, a lot of the like courses were kind of more focused on acting tracks. But it was funny because I came in with Nathan Bradley, who's currently a professor there, and a lot of us wanted to go into tech tracks. So the department kind of had to shake things up a little bit and start offering more tech courses. And over our years there as students, they started kind of expanding a little bit more. We had like more portfolio building courses, and I know that we started offering like sound classes and lighting classes and things like that. So it's kind of nice just to hear that, you know, that's still being focused on, just because tech is a very important part of theater that I feel is sometimes overlooked, especially in like college preparation classes. A lot of the times you think of acting when you think of like a theater degree. So yeah, but yeah, when I was there, like I said, because we were such a small like college, we were able to influence the department a little bit more like that. I know I was there when Jeff Cordell was a teacher, and he was able to offer like scenic painting as a class one year because I was interested in it. A few other students were interested in it, and that was, you know, helpful in my building of knowledge and like that profession. But yeah, just kind of stuff like that. I ended up graduating with a BFA in theater, but I also got my honors disciplinary in scenic art because I did a thesis in scenic art, and then I did my capstone actually in acting. So it was kind of all over the place. I haven't acted since I've been in college, but I do have that in my back pocket. So yeah, that's part of the things that I liked about Marietta, is that you kind of got to do a little bit of everything, but you also still got to kind of pick a focus. So
yeah, cool. All right, Delaney, let's hear from you. What was the course load like when you were at Marietta College?
Heavy.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we talk about all the time was how focused the program was on dramatic literature. We had 4 classes: world drama, modern European drama, American drama, and Asian drama, taught by Boss and Ron R.L. Lorman. And each of those classes, we read 40 to 45 plays a semester. It was three a week. So by the time I left there, we had read close to 200 plays. And that served me, and I know it served Shelley as well, for the rest of our careers. Because if the subject of Ibsen or Chekhov or, kabuki theater or anything came up, we knew about it because we had taken some pretty damn intense classes about that subject. So I think it just came up a couple of weeks ago. We were talking to somebody about it, saying, my God, how did we read that many plays? And can we imagine if we asked students to read 45 plays a semester now? Yeah, they just laugh in your face.
The cumulative effect of, we only had 2 acting classes. So even though acting ended up being the thing I pursued, I did have scenic design and lighting classes and everything else, and I had directed. And but when I turned to being focused as an actor, I ended up with a better graduate stipend because I took an intro to graduate studies class, and the woman was like, oh, you've read everything. And I ended up being her TA for theater history, which had never happened with an actor. And then like in just like scene study classes, but also script analysis, I was like, why doesn't everybody know this? Because when you've read 200 plays, you understand structure. You don't have to talk about structure. You've read 5 Ibsen plays, and you've covered all kinds of international theater. And then I feel really, I can still feel it now that I'm back auditioning. I'm auditioning for a new adaptation of a Moliere play that I'm submitting tomorrow on video, and then a Zoom audition of August Osage County. They're massive roles, they're massive plays. And I get the plays, I understand the plays, I understand the style. And of course I continued to train in all those things, but I had consumed plays and I never stopped consuming plays. And that habit, I think, set the students who studied with those teachers, aside from a lot of people, because if you have no, and they taught theater history through that. And so the depth of knowledge about what we did, I think I don't know that I've met anybody who had an undergraduate career that compared to that.
Wow.
And I think the directing classes were also amazing that Boss taught. That I say Boss, Willard Friedrich. Everybody called him Boss. Nobody called him Professor Friedrich. He was Boss. And he taught the two directing classes, and everybody got to direct a one act, and we did them on the main stage as a sort of a night of one acts. And through that, that's where I got my interest in directing for the rest of my life. And I also got the opportunity to direct plays on the main stage. And I think I might have been the first student that ever got that opportunity. And it was because, Boss and RL really trusted me and, gave me that opportunity. So they launched me on my directing career.
Wow. So Sam and Justine, what do you think about having to read 40 plays in a semester?
Damn, I honestly kind of would, in theory, that sounds wonderful. Realistically, I don't know how I could do that. That's wild. But sounds wonderful.
I did take a few classes where we did have to read like a large number of plays. I know Jeff Cordell was really into just making sure that we got the most out of our courses. So anytime that we took any kind of dramaturgical classes or any ones that focused on like specific types of theater, we did read a large number of plays. So I remember taking like a gay drama theater course where we read probably around 10 or so plays, but taking multiple classes where you had to read 10 plays per class, it probably added up to about 40 in the semester. So
yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. All right, well, let's talk about the future of the program. So what do you think the program should be focusing on going forward that maybe 5-10 years ago wasn't as relevant as it is today? Anybody want to take that one? Sure. Go for it, Shelley.
Justine, were you going to talk too? You are.
You go ahead. You're fine.
Okay. Just having countless alumnus from Ohio University too. One of the things that students were demanding, but that you're also really seeing is one, triple threat used to be actor, singer, dancer, and everybody does everything, creating your own content, new media, and the ways that you can get stuff you're doing out there means that everybody is self-creating and encouraging that self-creating, whether it's devising work for the theater that is reflective of what we're used to seeing theater look like, or if it's cross. So I would say self-creating, the triple threat is now a quadruple threat. You add actor, you add actor, musicians, but way beyond that to, you look at Donald Glover in Atlanta, and you look at the people who are doing everything to get themselves seen. So teaching them not to wait for someone to give them a job, that there's a lot in your hands to go out and do for yourself, and don't wait for somebody to give you a job. And I also think I don't know, Lisa or Sam, you can answer this probably, but whether or not there's much on camera work and crossover work and on camera auditioning, and because so much is happening digitally now, so that bridge into the industry that some of the people were asking about in the chat, one thing is that it's much more open because you self-submit in ways I would have never imagined before I started teaching at OU, and certainly not, I would not be auditioning for like major network television in Guysville, Ohio, were it not for digital auditions. And it is a great thing, but it means they're seeing hundreds of people for a role you might have been seeing 34. The great on-camera skills would be the other thing that I would suggest.
That was one of the great advantages we had at OU, was that we had a terrific MFA film program. And there was a lot of cross-pollination to the point where Shelley was teaching the MFA film directors acting class. And every audition, every group audition, the semester auditions that we had, after they auditioned on stage, they ran upstairs, and did an on-camera audition for all the film directors, every student. So that, that's something to shoot for. I know you don't have a master's program in film, but as much of that on-camera stuff as you can get, that is going to serve your theater actors so well.
And the students are so much more fluid than the faculty is, because they've been carrying their cameras their entire lives in a way that, I couldn't imagine. That's all I got. Justine,
Right.
sorry.
Right. Justine, what do you think?
Oh, I definitely agree. I actually just joined IATSE, which is the film union for stagehands, just last year. And I worked on my second film last year, my second major feature film. And I definitely agree that being able to work in film is another threat that you can add to your kind of tool belt, just because when theaters shut down, film kept going in a lot more ways. They still shut down a little bit, but they were able to kind of work around a bit more of the COVID protocols and all of that, just because they were able to spread out a little bit more and they have a bit more of a budget than theater often has. So being able to kind of know your way around a film set, even if you're in tech, is definitely something that is worth kind of looking into. And it is a whole different world. There's a lot of crossover, but it is its own specific thing. So yeah, that's something that's definitely important to kind of take out. But yeah.
Lisa, anything you want to add to the future of the department?
Yeah, we actually spent last year doing a year-long masterclass in voiceover acting with a friend of mine from LA who is actually Dennis and Shelley, you may know John DeMita as well. Did you ever? Anyway, he was in Race with Kasaya. So, okay. But he is a very well-known voiceover actor and especially voiceover foreign language dub director, who is now the head of Netflix foreign language dubbing for like 3 or 4 countries, like Canada and Korea, and I don't remember what countries. Sam, you may remember. But we had, he came to campus, did a big workshop, worked with students, and then we did stuff remotely for the rest of the year, back and forth on Zoom. And Nathan Bradley, who is was a staff member and is going to be a faculty member next year, who graduated with Justine, he would work with our students in the music department's recording studio over with the music therapy building, which used to be the mass media building. It's now music therapy. But he would work with our students. Sam could talk a little more about that probably because he did the program. But it was a really phenomenal opportunity that we got from leadership. Actually, leadership gave us a leader in residence grant and said, what do you want to do? What do you want your students to learn? And so we were able to afford to bring him in and to set up this whole program for a year. And I know at least a couple of the folks, a couple of the people who just graduated have gotten a hold of him, gotten a hold of John, and are going to pursue doing some more stuff with him. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a connection that we're going to keep, because if you know from watching Netflix, there's a whole lot of dubbed.
The film that I just worked on is from Netflix.
There we go. Yeah,
there you go.
There's a whole lot of dubbed stuff. There's a whole lot of opportunity for voiceover work.
Absolutely.
Audiobooks, commercials, all of the animated shows, of which there's just so much. And it's interesting that you mentioned film and television work, because that is going to be Andy's sabbatical journey. Is pursuing that to bring it back and teach. So that is an area that we plan to extend into at least a bit. So awesome.
Great. Well, let's move on and talk a little bit about how Marietta College has prepared you folks for your professions. Dennis and Shelley, you touched on this a little bit, but what were some of the ways that when you're out looking for jobs that your Marietta College experience comes into play? How did people react when they saw Marietta College on your resume? Was there a big question mark like Marietta? What is that in Georgia? So just tell us about how Marietta College worked into your how it does work into your career getting jobs. Justine, you want to start?
Sure. Like I've been talking about, because the department was so small, I was able to do a lot in the department. So my freshman year when I came in, I immediately jumped into a lead designer position as a set designer and costume designer for a main stage production called Boom. So as a freshman, I immediately got tossed into those two roles. So just being able to kind of have those opportunities definitely allowed me to grow more. Just being able to do a lot of hands-on experience outside of the classroom, because I feel like you can learn a lot in the classroom, but until you're doing it, that's a whole other different ballgame. So just being able to have like all of that hands-on experience that I was able to have, and being able to kind of go to my professors outside of, normal hours even, and ask them questions. Or in my case, when I was working with Jeff Cordell and I would be up until God knows when in the morning painting sets together, and being able to kind of, work off of each other. And, I learned a lot from what he had been doing just in those like off hours. So it was nice being able to kind of feel like I was already in a professional setting just because I was given so many opportunities. And then I was also able to like work in the scene shop and costume shop. Like I was getting paid as a student there. I don't know if they still have those programs, but I was able to work outside of classroom hours in like the scene shop and costume shop, building the sets and building the costumes and things. And even that just felt like more of a professional job situation, more so than just being a student doing a classroom project. So having those opportunities definitely already prepared me. Once I graduated, it didn't feel like anything that I hadn't done before. Taking those experiences and just moving it to a bigger setting.
So Samuel, you're about to start your career. You're about to go out into the world. What from your Marietta College experience gives you the most confidence?
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of it, like Justine said, I was gonna talk about how, yes, all the classes have prepared me technically and have trained me super well, but I think a lot of my experiences outside of the classroom doing productions, having a vast plethora of roles under my belt now, thanks to the experiences I've had, I'm able to better understand myself as an actor. I started out, I did Heathers, the musical, where I played Kurt, this asshole jock dude, and then I later
love my dead gay son.
Yeah, exactly. And then that spring of my freshman year, I partook in a play, my first straight play ever, the Sam Shepard play, Fool for Love. I played Eddie, and that was a huge challenge for me. And I think over the years, I think it taught me a lot about work ethic and being able to come into a rehearsal space and be professional. And it also helped me, sorry, I read the chat. It also helped me better understand how to work with different kinds of directors. Each directing professor I had their own specific kind of directing style, and that really gave me access to kind of that understanding. Oh, okay, the production can be this, but theater can also be this. It's not this specific one thing, so.
Nice. Shelley and Dennis, anything you want to add to how your Marietta College education has prepared you?
I think what Sam brought up is an important point, in that leaving a school like Marietta with a bunch of roles, that brings you up to the dilemma of, do you want to be in a program that is huge, where you might be getting like top-notch training, but like you never get on stage, or you get on once or twice, you're a little fish in a huge pond? Or do you want to go the direction that we went, which was to go to a smaller school, be a big fish in a small pond? And my God, we left Marietta with a whole list of plays that we did and directed and worked on the sets and did all of it. I think that that's an advantage. It gives you immense confidence to prepare you for grad school or prepare you for the professional world. If you didn't just sit around and watch your friends on stage, you were on stage. You got to do a lot of stuff. And I think that the smaller programs like Marietta, whatever disadvantages there are, that's an enormous advantage.
Shelley, anything you want to add?
No, yeah, my work ethic, I really needed someone to make me have a work ethic. And so it wasn't really till my junior year that it was time, and it was absolutely both the classwork and the production and everything about the theater programs that gave me my work ethic. And I also appreciated the patience of those professors while they waited for me to decide I was a student. I'm not sure that somewhere else would have, but I also didn't know that I wanted to be a theater artist when I started. I had psychology and art and the whole big speech and a whole big parade of things that I think held interest, and ultimately the thing that made me a better student was theater. And I absolutely had people who didn't suffer fools gladly, but also breathed through waiting for that to happen. And I appreciated that. As far as bridge to the profession, it was essential. I went to graduate school. I had 2 acting classes, and as many plays as I'd done, I knew that that I wasn't going to be competitive. I'm not even competitive. I didn't understand that at all or necessarily cared about. I wasn't the kind of actor I needed to be finishing, and that is no reflection on anything to do with the training other than it wasn't the focus, and I wanted 18 hours a week in acting classes, and that is the trade. And I am so grateful to this day that I didn't go to that program as an undergraduate, because I wouldn't have had the worldview that I had. I would not have had the exposure to all of the other departments that I had. I would not be, this sounds terrible.
Okay.
I would
You're
not
among friends. It's okay.
I would not be as smart as I am, because I would have been able to go, oh, this is the thing I love, and this is all I'm going to look at. And once I discovered what I loved, I would have fallen right into that track. And you can't at Marietta. So
Right.
is Marietta the thing that helped get me into the rooms that got me the jobs? Rutgers is that. It's a big freaking training program with an internationally known MFA acting program. Did I thrive at Rutgers because I went to Marietta? Yeah. Did I know what those long days and that being dedicated to something other than yourself was because of Marietta? Absolutely.
Right. Well, that kind of touches on my next question, and then we're going to open it up for other folks to jump in and share their experiences and ask questions. But what about the element of the liberal arts part of the education? So, Delaney's, as educators at the graduate level, can you see a difference between students that didn't have a liberal arts education and those that did? Or how does the liberal arts element of Marietta College play into what you're experiencing?
Yeah, don't get me started. I mean, again, I didn't just teach MFA directing program. I also taught undergrad directors, and exposure to students who didn't know who the vice president was, who didn't know what century the Civil War was in, had never heard of, my God, Cary Grant or Betty Davis. I'm just, strangest things I would discover that young people didn't know. And again, I think that being in a liberal arts education, being able to go to a school like Marietta and take all the amazing courses I did outside of the theater program absolutely made me a better theater person. To take a course in Napoleon and the French Revolution and to take courses in the ancient philosophers and things like that. You know, it just makes you smarter. It gives you perspective. It gives you context for everything. And, you know, it always amazes me to hear even like smart playwrights say things like, those things don't matter. You don't need to know history. You don't need to know. And I'm just like, yeah, you do. You do. Especially if you want to be a good director, you need to study everything. You need to study the Bible. You need to study the classics. You need to study art history, because it's going to hit you in the face one day in rehearsal, and you're going to look like an idiot when you don't know the answer to the questions. You know, so yeah, liberal arts education, absolutely one of the foundations of my life.
Justine, what about on the technical side? How has the liberal arts preparation helped you?
I agree with a lot of what Dennis said. I took art history, and being able to have, I graduated with a minor in studio art, and being able to kind of have that background definitely prepared me, even just taking other history courses and just knowing the foundations of different societies and things. You'd be surprised how much that comes up when I'm having to do like a different scenic treatment, being able to kind of know the history behind, you know, what the play is based around, you know, what culture, even different dramaturgical sides of things with like different directors' concepts, or when different designers come in at me, you know, with a general idea of something, but they don't really know what. So then being able to kind of have my knowledge, like from my liberal arts background, with all those like different history courses, and being able to kind of draw back on that knowledge that I got. And just in general, being able to kind of communicate better. You know, I took a communication course when I was at Marietta, and being able to public speak even is something that becomes very important. And I think a lot of people overlook, because even if you're in theater and you're doing, you know, you're acting on the stage and all of that, that's still different than being able to public speak and being able to kind of run a meeting or even talk like on a panel like this. There's just different ways that you can go about preparing for those things, and just having that self-confidence that was brought up too. Just having that foundation underneath you just really helps kind of set you up, and, you know, build you up for when you go on to your next, you know, project.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, let's open it up to, oh, sorry, Shelley, do you want to add to that?
I would just add that one of the greatest, best, I have no favorites, MFA students I had was Thomas Daniels, who was
Thomas was great.
from Marietta grad, and everything about him was great, about how much he knew as an actor, how much he was willing to admit he didn't know. And finally, one of my favorite things was I was teaching a Shakespeare and performance class, and before I started moving people toward things they could best succeed at when I was teaching tools, I would be like, choose a monologue from a play and a role that you would never be cast in right now. And he decided he'd do a Lear monologue. And I was just like, no, okay. But that was part of what made me feel like, oh, that's so Marietta, because Marietta would have let you freaking play Lear. I would be like, oh my God, just don't make me watch it. But that impulse, that full-hearted impulse to leap into the hardest thing, to me, is also representative of that liberal arts education, which was, yeah, I can do that or I can't. But what I will learn from playing it is better than what I will learn from doing Romeo, which I could do blindfold. So that's it.
You know, her bringing up a student playing Lear made me think of the fact that Marietta, one of the things when we were there, Boss had a thing that he did with the season. He chose the season, you know, and he did a cycle of theater history over a 4-year period where all the plays, you would start with a Greek play and then go to like a Renaissance play and then a Shakespeare, and he would cover the whole history of theater over 4 years, and then he'd start over again. So we got to do plays that we probably had no business doing, but they were incredible challenges. I mean, we did Medea, we did Blood Wedding, we did, you know, these plays that were just like, oh my God. What?
I said they still are.
Yeah. You know, they weren't easy, but that was one of the great things, again, of not just the dramatic literature classes, but the productions we did. We got to see them, these amazing plays. Now, were they genius productions? Not necessarily, but some of them were pretty wonderful.
Well, the point was to teach, not to necessarily do genius productions, right? Yeah. All right, let's open it up to comments and questions from other folks. And panelists, if you have questions for each other, by all means, feel free to ask them. But the first one's going to come from another member of the MCAA board, and that is Paul Adams. Go ahead and wave, Paul. Say hello, wave. And he asked, in post-COVID environment, what are the job prospects for theater majors? Regional theaters seem to be coming back. Is that right? And if so, what kinds of opportunities does that present for MC graduates? How might theater alums and alums be helpful to recent graduates? There's a lot of questions in there. So let's start with the first one. So in the post-COVID environment, what's the market like? Anybody want to take that one?
Well, Shelley has 2 auditions tomorrow, so that yes, there is I am in Holland, Michigan doing theater right now with one of our current students. I see Chris Kurtz on here. He's in New York doing theater. Justine, I saw on Facebook you were just painting.
Yeah, I just wrapped 3 of my shows just closed this past weekend, and then I am starting on another one tomorrow. So
COVID is still impacting the business. Absolutely. There is still work out there. And in addition to working in theater, I've found our graduates have gone on with the communication skills that they've developed in theater, with the team building skills, the ability to work in groups, that they've gone on and worked in all sorts of different industries. So if anyone else has some other things to add to that.
Well, what you just brought up, that's a conversation we had hundreds of times with the parents of theater majors, who are always terrified that their kids are going to try to be actors or try to be designers or try to be stage managers or whatever, which of course the environment for that is always gruesome. It's hard. It's a hard business. But what you just said, being a theater major often instills in good students, the confidence to lead a group, to problem solving, because opening night comes and you better be ready. All the skills you learn as a theater person will serve you in law school. They'll serve you in a medical program. They'll serve you in a massage program. They'll serve you as a librarian, whatever. I mean, these are great skills to have. I mean, to be realistic, again, the theater is a very, very tough, competitive business. You will remember, Lisa, on the first day of my classes with the MFA director, I'm bluntly honest and say, it took me 10 years to make more than $10,000 a year as a professional director. If you got in it for the money, you made a huge mistake, because the likelihood that you're going to, even be able to buy a house, it's tough. It's tough, but people succeed. People do well. People live a life that they want to live, and it's a joyous kind of thing to be in. I have no regrets about being in the professional theater, and so it's a balance of you're not going to necessarily be working every day in the theater. I temped in New York into my 40s, but I lived a great life there, and we didn't hold back from going to Broadway shows and art museums and ballet and opera. It was great.
Hey, Chris Kurtz, I see that you had something you want to add, but I'm going to get to you in a second. We have a question specifically for Sam along the same lines of what Dennis just talked about, from Jamie Cleland. Sam, did you feel any pressure from family or society to major in something practical rather than or in addition to theater?
Absolutely. When I first told them I wanted to be an actor, they were kind of like, what? We've never had anybody in the family who's done that really before, pursued that professionally at least, or done anything like that. It was something that was more of a gradual thing. I had to kind of convince them over time, like this was the right choice for me. Acting was always like, it sounds so corny and cheesy, but if you're not doing something that's making you happy, you're not gonna I feel like inevitably you're not going to end up being successful. For me, at least, in my opinion, acting was always the thing that feeds the soul. I mean, I think, yeah, it was definitely just a gradual thing that I had to convince my family over time. They came to more performances, and kind of saw how much it meant to me and how passionate I actually was, and how much work I put into it behind the scenes. I would work on lines with my dad all the time, and he'd be like, "This is so much more work than I thought it was." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily, it's not like, as easy as it looks."
That's sweet. Sweet. Chris Kurtz, thank you for joining us. Did you want to jump in and share something?
Yeah, I just, in reference to post-COVID, I work in New York, and there is like a ton of work right now, to the point where people are posting on Facebook looking for people to work. I just finished doing production video on 2 shows, one at Lincoln Center and one at the Nederlander, simultaneously, because we're just out of people. So I actually had to buy a scooter and go back and forth between 2 theaters for about 3 weeks. There's just a ton of work. People talked in the chat about networking. When you come to New York, it's all about that. If there's any tech students, please give me a call. I will find you work.
Awesome. So another member of the MCA board has thrown in a question, and this is for Lisa. And this is from Nancy McCann. Wonderful, Nancy. Are there any shows planned for next year that you can share?
Absolutely. I can tell you most of the season. Some of it isn't completely set yet. As some of you know, we've been doing a Shakespeare by the River for 7 or 8 years. And this year, we're switching it up. We'll go back to Shakespeare next year. We're going to go back and forth. This year, we're doing Into the Woods, the musical, in Muskingum Park at Stern Wheel Festival weekend. Free for the community. It will be Thursday, Friday, and Sunday night. Saturday night with fireworks. There's no competing with that. So we're opening with that September 8, 9, and 11. Sorry, the chats.
Sorry.
The chats always draw my no, it's fine. Then we're doing a production that we were going to do, and then COVID shut it down, and that's Miss Bennet, Christmas at Pemberley, which is a new play by Lauren Gunderson, who wrote The Revolutionists, which I got to direct and I love, and she is one of the hottest American playwrights. Her work is super good. I saw a production that Shelley directed, Silent Sky. It was beautiful, of her work. So anytime you see Lauren Gunderson, pretty much, I will say, go see the play. She is just her. So we're doing Miss Bennet, Christmas at Pemberley. In the spring, we're going to have a couple of student-directed works as studio shows. Those plays have not been chosen yet, but there will be a student-directed series in the spring, and then I'm directing Spring Awakening, the musical, in April.
Nice.
So it is going to be a busy season, an exciting season. We've got family-friendly things, and then some things that are a little more adult and a little more serious. Yeah, I'd like to pop back to one of Paul Adams' questions, which was, how can alums help? Sort of in the series of questions, like what can alums do for current students or for other recent alums? And I'm paraphrasing your question there, Paul, or your statement. And I think, stay in touch with any of us who teach in the theater department now. Me, certainly, I enjoy, we call it wrangling alums. I really love keeping in touch. The thing I don't like about theater is that you work with people, you get close, and then they go away. And that's always been the hardest part for me. So I love connecting with new people and reconnecting with old friends. So even if you're not working in theater, if you are in a situation where you are in a theater city and maybe you've got a really big house and wouldn't mind sharing a room if a student gets an internship somewhere, that would be wonderful. If you are part of a company where you could take on a theater student to do something non-theater related, maybe you've got something that's marketing or businessy that may not directly tie into theater, we may still have students who are really interested in that opportunity, because writing grants for your company that has nothing to do about theater can translate into writing grants for a nonprofit. You know, the obvious connections like Chris Kurtz or Justine or the Delaney's who are currently working in theater, keeping those connections up, like that is a little obvious and makes perfect sense. But keeping in touch with me when you're looking for people, when you have ideas, if there are alums who are in a situation where they're in a city that has a lot of good professional theater and they are financially able to maybe take students to lunch or host students at their house, if we came to DC or New York or Chicago or somewhere on like 4-day break or spring break, and you could connect with current students that way.
Great.
Like really any way we can engage our current students with our alumni network is something that we're excited about. And we do, now that hopefully, dear goodness, hopefully COVID is moving on. Let's hope. We have been talking a lot about wanting to get our students out, because we do take them to places you can get to in a day.
Mhm.
You know, to Cleveland to see a Broadway tour, or Columbus or Pittsburgh. That's not, you know, that's not at all the experiences of going to somewhere like New York or DC or Chicago and spending a couple of days and getting to really immerse yourself in the art museums and theater. And hopefully, you know, right now that's not financially possible, and travel's not necessarily something that we're able to do. But the world is opening back up, shows are opening up, and as that becomes more possible, we want to get back to taking our students on the road to see
Great.
more
Well,
work.
thank you. And that's probably a great way to wrap up. We have been here at it an hour already. I'm now putting something in the chat. Those are the links to all of our social media accounts. Please, if you're not following us on those, do that. And I just want to throw a big thank you to Samuel, to Justine, to Shelley and Dennis, and especially Lisa. Lisa has been so amazing to work with over the last few months, because we've been trying to schedule this for a long time. But you know, theater people, they aren't easy to pin down. So we finally got it though, and I think it's been a great conversation. So thank you, Lisa, and thank you all of our panelists. And with that, I'm going to say to everybody, have a great night, a great week, and a great Memorial Day weekend coming up.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.